what should people be thinking about when they see you walking down the hallway these days? What should be on their mind about being supportive?
I guess what I think of is just be mindful that I might just be a little soft-hearted in situations that might have not normally I've been so vulnerable in, and know that it's okay to approach me, and it actually is a positive thing when people approach me and let me know they're thinking about me or that there is something that they know I'm being affected by.
And I would think that it's the right thing to do to use his name when they talk to you.
Yes.
I know that over the years I've been in this field for a long time, and I think one of the most common things that parents say that's a really deep ache and hurt for them is when people can't say their child's name.
Right.
And
one thing that's really one of my biggest fears
yes.
Is forgetting.
Yes.
And he was one I talked about quite often, skateboarder, kind of crazy, was someone that was really close. And so a lot of people at work got to hear
Christian
about
stories.
the things, about the things he's done and that kind of stuff, just because, he was my challenged child. So he seemed to talk about those more than the perfect ones. So a lot of people really know him if you're close to me at work. So
that adds a dimension to all of this, doesn't it? That maybe isn't as true with your other children if you didn't talk about them as much. So you would really miss it if they didn't call him by name.
Yes.
Because they know him in a pretty personal way.
Yep.
His escapades, would that be?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, sure. That word will work.
Okay.
He was fun.
So, how have you prepared yourself for the holidays? It's a big topic for anyone who has recently experienced the death of a loved one.
Well, I'd say one thing that I've learned to experience is talking to my husband and not being shy to do so. My first experience around Christmas, Thanksgiving wasn't so hard, but Christmas was the last holiday we spent together. So, I want to be able to talk about it and be okay with being sad. And so I bought my first ornament for him since he's been gone. And it was like bittersweet, And so my husband supported me, thought if that's what you need to do, all means, go ahead. So it's those things that you're not sure are going to catch you off guard. And you need to have people around you that will just let you be. If you want to talk.
It's okay.
If you want to cry. If you want to laugh and act like nothing's bothering you. So I think being prepared like that, having people surround you that will give you the time and space. I can change the future for my other kids, but his is set.
It's set.
Yep.
And I hear so strongly, at least the word connection comes to mind when you say you don't want to forget, and this ornament and how connected you feel through that ornament to your son, and how beautiful, in a way, it is that you have that tradition. That I would probably call that a ritual.
Yep.
That you can continue with.
He was one that took care of everybody else and made sure everybody else was okay. And I think he kind of forgot about himself. And it's hard because then you only see really one side. So the playful, the wrestling, the skateboarding, playing with his daughter, those types of things. So
those were part of who he was in the taking care of and thinking about others.
Yeah.
I know that one of the things that people who are listening to you today, first of all, I know that they're really grateful that a mother would be willing to do this kind of thing so soon after a child died. But I think there's a freshness to grief when we talk about it at this period of time that helps everyone understand how deep and how piercing it is. What would you say has been for you the very hardest part of being a parent to a child who died?
I would say sometimes going on. I've had to, there was a Mother's Day is a point when I had to really pull up my bootstraps. So I have 3 other kids, and had a really good day, tried really hard, took 15, 20 minutes, went in a room and just cried. And my husband said to me, happy Mother's Day, though I know it's not happy. And I said, it is happy. I have 3 kids still with me, and I have to live for them, but remember him. And so it kind of changed my perspective. I can't live for where Christian is now. I have to live for knowing him, and then live for my other children now.
So now you need people. And you need people that don't necessarily know what to do or what to say. How are you navigating that? Plus the fact, I'll just add one other thing to this, plus the fact that you've said that at work you had a lot of friends, colleagues who knew a lot about Christian. So it's all of that combined. How are you navigating that?
Well, I don't think I navigate it very well. I'm not one that asks for help very easily. Don't ask or accept it easily, because my life story has been pretty much stand on my own and trust me. And so I've had a hard time dealing with it. More work related, just because being in the field that I'm in and things that I do, there's a worthiness issue anyway, finance and female in finance, that type of stuff. So this kind of just brings all of those insecurities back out. So to show vulnerability sometimes with my colleagues, like I have no problem with friends that are here, but some of the colleagues, it can be tough.
Tough. What have you found? What has helped, or are some people beyond being able to help, or?
Well, you find both camps. There was a lot of people in our organization that reached out that have had experiences like this. I will tell you,
you were shocked.
I thought this was more isolated, and that shocked me as well. Because the organization itself, like 4 weeks before this, we had someone's son die in a car crash, and everybody just came around them. And when I got back to work, it was almost like no one talked to you. So the means of it, there's some stigma behind
I was going to ask
suicide.
About stigma.
And so I pay attention to those types of things pretty closely.
Yes.
So you could really tell a difference. And it's just education, and I suppose it's different. I'm one that doesn't shy away from things very often. Yes, my son killed himself. It doesn't change if you talk to me about it or you don't. Yeah. You still lost my car crash, so, but it was different. It seemed lonely.
Oh.
So you had the people that had the experience come, but the people that didn't, it seemed lonely. But you just turn it off.
Like they were far away.
Yep. You just turn it off, and then you go back home and try not to forget, and you come back. It's a cycle.
Now, he had a daughter. He has a daughter, and she's. Did you say before we started that she's 4?
Yes.
No.
Yep. She's 4.
How often do you see her? How are things with her? And
well, I have we have just a side agreement that every third weekend we just stop and get her, and we keep her all weekend. I haven't spent a lot of time with her because it's hard to look at her and you think, great, you're Christian's daughter, and great, you're Christian's daughter. It's kind of you love them so much, but yet it hurts.
Like, where's he?
Yep.
Is that what you mean?
Yep, and what would he be doing right now? Would she be this way if he was there? Or what would be different? Or, does she understand? And so I'm getting better at that, but it's still, and she is just talks about her dad all the time. So that's neat, so.
What are some of the special things she has to say about her dad?
Oh, like when songs come on, this is my dad's favorite song, and oh, look, here's a picture of my dad, just walking by. And I think the thing that throws us the most is she's just transparent. My dad's dead. Do you know my dad's dead? And you're just like, yeah. I love my dad. Yeah, we do too. Just a matter of fact, keeps him alive, really. But it's hard to hear, because you don't really want it. You want people to know, but you don't want it out there coming from a 4-year-old. So
3 other children. How would you say they're doing? Did they respond quite differently to Christian's death, or not so much?
Yes, I think they all 3. So I have an older son that's 3 years older than Christian, and he had a lot of guilt for not going out with him on his birthday, and spending more time with him when he was alive, and when he, you start blaming yourself. So he had a heck of a time for a while, and he hit rock bottom, and now he's back. We're happy he's back.
Yes.
And so we spent a lot of time together, my older son and I, for a while, and he just had to tell me what he thought. And, there was a lot of blaming, and that's fine. I get it. And so we got past that, and now we're okay. And he's okay with it. Struggles because they grew up together, so.
Well, yes, and I'm thinking when you say rock bottom, for the living child after just experiencing suicide with your dear son Christian, how that must have felt at the time.
Yeah,
helping
was
him.
Scary. It was scary.
I bet it was scary.
And you're more sensitized to things. So so I tried not to overreact and get too over concerned, and so we just had to put our foot down in the family and then have a conversation, and he got it.
Do you mind telling me a little more about what you mean by that, putting your foot down?
Well, he started drinking a lot, and then he would lash out and say things to us.
Oh.
Well, it was more around me, the mom gets some of the brunt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we finally said, we can't do it anymore. You're not welcome around us. And until we sit down and have a conversation, you can't be around us. And so I have one that's passed away and one you have to tell to leave.
Oh.
But it worked. We all sat down and we talked. And I said, I just can't do this. So he needs, you just need to make a decision. You either can be around us or not. And so
and it's
he made
a decision that he was going to make.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So he made that and stopped. So
I admire you a great deal for being able to draw a line where you needed to and when you needed to draw it. There are a lot of people that couldn't do that.
It was very hard.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, it's not as hard as losing one, because he could still survive without me.
Yes. Yep. He'll be back.
Yeah.
And he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Probably fairly soon.
Yes, actually. He wasn't gone too long. Yeah. It's true.
So that's one child in one way, and then the other two?
So I have a 14-year-old daughter, and when she was born, Christian was 11. So he really took care of her, and he was the giving one. So he was the one that was going to beat up every boyfriend and take care of her, and she really had a hard time. She was really quiet at first, and just one day she turned to me and said, "I don't love him anymore." I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" She goes, "I don't love Christian anymore." And I'm like, what do you mean? And, well, he didn't love me.
Because he left.
Yep. He wasn't thinking about me. He didn't care about me, And so, that was really hard. And I just went through, he wasn't thinking of you. Because if he was, he wouldn't be where he's at. He loves you, and he'll watch over you. And she's like, "Who's going to protect me?" And it's like, my older son chimed in, "I guess I'll beat him up twice. Beat your boyfriends up twice, because we got to somehow keep after in there." But she's one that really doesn't want to talk about it. She has started recently, after that moment, she has a friend in school that's dad committed suicide. And so, they talk every once in a while. So.
And that was a death that she knew about prior to Christian dying, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So, someone she could reach out to, or the other way around.
Yeah. And it was hard for her to understand, like the boy that she knew wanted to go where his dad killed himself.
Died.
At the railroad tracks or something. I don't know the details, but and she said, "I can't believe he'd want to do that." And and so it was an opportunity to talk through it, because when Christian's girlfriend moved out of their house, Christian hung himself in their basement. And I said, "Remember, I had to go and sit down there. It'd be the last place
Yes.
to have that feeling."
Where he was.
Yep. And I said, "Harley, you didn't want to go." I said, "People are just different. It's not right or wrong, it's just different."
Does she still agree with that decision? Did she make the right decision?
For her, I think she did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she just doesn't want to remember it in that way, and I'm more of a final person. I have to be at that place. But
So she's 14, and then one
9-year-old
9.
boy. He was the one that wrestled all the time and did all that stuff with Christian. So he's one that's probably the most supportive towards me. Like, he'll be my protector. When he sees tears start coming, he look and make faces and hug and tickle and just to try to get me to snap out of it sometimes. So it works. I
am just so proud of you. I'm so impressed with how you have to go on parenting other children while mourning, while thinking about, while planning, and dealing with their problems, whether grief related or not. But
right.
Yes, it's just a tremendous burden to think about, that you had to rise to the occasion at so many different times.
Yeah. I know. One thing that's happened recently, when you said your brain protects you or your mind protects you. When Harley and I were talking about the basement, Jaden which is my 9-year-old, wanted to know what happened in the basement. And, I was confused because we talk about it openly, for weeks, we would talk about it, and he never really connected with it. Never.
He didn't figure that one out.
Mm-mm. And so my daughter, which is protective, says, you can't find out till you're 14. Because I was 14 when I found out. So she's trying to protect him as well. And he just said, can you just tell me when I'm 11? And then he was like, fine. But, because we talk and open and cry, and he just didn't put it together. So that was something that was surprising to me.
How do you feel about that place now? You needed to go there in the beginning. Is the house accessible to you now or not anymore?
Not anymore. They moved out, so.
Does that feel like a loss to you?
Yes. Absolutely.
You drive by it.
Yep. Yep.
Do you ever stop?
No.
Just think and see. And
yep. Yeah. It's interesting.
well, it is, because that place can have a great deal of importance for people. That last place and the revisiting and all of that. I really understand that you would need to do that. I'm glad that it's close enough that you can at least drive by and think about it.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
Are there some things that we haven't talked about that you were planning to share with me today?
Well, I know one thing that I struggled with, the expectation of getting in counseling and getting in, doing the steps. At one of the panels I was on, I had someone ask me, are you in counseling? And your kid's in counseling? That expectation question. That's what it is to me. And I'm like, no, we're not. And the question came, why not? And I said, I'm just not ready for someone to tell me how to feel.
And for you, that's what counseling means.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I will share, I did call somebody last week, though, because I got past the point of, in my mind, being vulnerable enough to follow something I might not be strong enough to follow. Well, I'd just like to end with, follow who you are, no matter what happens to you. You will learn in many ways.
Just so that I'm clear and the people listening are clear, when you followed who you were, what does that mean for you? It means waiting before you get therapy.
Yes, it means trusting yourself to tell you when you're ready for the next step, and allowing yourself time in any way that you need it, with people, without people, being alone, being surrounded. I had to trust myself.
So I just have one last question. If someone had given you the opportunity to read something, and let's just say you didn't feel ready right away, a lot of people don't, but at some point in time you picked it up, what would you have wanted to find in those pages? It's a brochure on suicide.
I would like to have seen or see that it's not surrounded by blame. And there may have been a path, but sometimes souls you can't see. Destiny's already written.
And
some things are just out of your control. Yep, I can't change that. I can just enjoy what I have when I have it.